From the City of Angels, you are listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On today's episode, take 2 of God and the Universe. So let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Engage.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
No, I am the Father.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
What's up, savages? And welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast, where you get your weekly dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. Hi, I am your host, James Salazar, the former mentioned name, aka the media. So I want to make an apology about my last podcast. Unfortunately, I did a first version where I rambled on and blah, 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 all that stuff, and I didn't like it because I was tired and I just woke up and it wasn't my best. I thought I disregarded it and went on to the subject of the podcast, God and the Universe, starting the new segment called Something to Believe in. And unfortunately, because I was late with the podcast and I was in a hurry, I posted the part I didn't like and the part I did like. And so you were presented with a podcast where I'm rambling on, saying silly stuff. I don't even know if it was coherent, and not even getting to the subject till like a half hour later. And if you at that time have disregarded it or wondering what is this guy saying, it was not intended to be posted. And that's what happens when you don't edit, when you don't go back over your stuff, and when you do things in a hurry. You know, I tell my daughter always, you better do it right the first time because you got to make time the second time, which I'm doing now. And finish what you start, amongst other values. So, yes, it was not thorough. And I let a bad product go out, and I want to apologize for that. I mean, sometimes my bad product usually consists of my audio, and not good. But I try to come out with good content to offset the audio. And I just laid a turd out, put it on, popped it up on the podcast, and just want to apologize to everyone. So I'm gonna attempt to do this again. Because if you were trying to hear the subject about God and the universe, you didn't get to it till like 30 to 45 minutes into the podcast. And that was unfortunate, and you might have turned it off by then. So we are right now going to re-implement take 2 of God and the Universe. Hold on to your hats and glasses, because this is what we're doing. So my second attempt at God and the Universe. This segment I will be doing hopefully once a month, called Something to Believe in, where I tell you about my core beliefs and I tell you why I believe it, and maybe defend it against opposing ideas. And these are ideas I've thought about since I was 12 years old, vacillated back and forth as I became more educated on life and on literature and on subjects in general. And there is no promise that these will stay what they are as they are now, because life has a way of teaching you new lessons, right? So, it is what it is. God in the universe. I think systematically, and I have plenty of beliefs at towards the top of the pyramid. when it comes to abortion, when it comes to freedom, when it comes to republicanism, when it comes to mindsets and modalities, they all come from a foundation built upon another and built upon another. And if you follow that foundation all the way down, it generally starts off with, I believe there's a God. Now, we're not going to get into what kind of God this might be, whether he's a God that is active in history or he's not. We're just going to state the case why I believe there is a God rather than no God. Sounds simple enough? Now, philosophically, we have what you called causes or created beginnings. All right? Everything you see in the earth and the universe was caused by another event. To its simplest form, you were caused by your parents getting freaky. The oceans, a road, a cliff by the sea came through the erosion of the ocean. Some gangster getting shot on the street was probably disrespecting somebody's home girl. There's a cause and then there's an effect. So, something created a circumstance and there was an effect of that circumstance, and everything has a cause. No, not everything has a cause, sorry. Everything that has a beginning has a cause or was created and is not eternal. But not everything that exists has a cause or a beginning. Do you understand this statement? Everything that has a beginning has a cause, has a start, has a beginning. But not everything that exists has a cause or a beginning. It could be uncaused, uncreated, and eternal. Now, and we got two candidates for that. God or the universe. So, everything that has a beginning has a cause and was created by the originator of all creation, of all beginnings, or all causes. That is either an eternal being or an eternal reality or eternal universe. So let me just get the ridiculous question out of the way. Who created God and who created the universe? It is ridiculous to ask the universe or God who created it, because the uncreated can never be created. The amount of faith that it takes to believe in an eternal universe takes about the same faith to believe in an eternal God. I believe it takes more faith for the universe based on science and what we see, not on the science of what we hope or theory. There are explanations, and we will get into them, about an eternal universe. But according to the laws that we see, there's nothing eternal about the universe, and we'll get into that. Which leaves us was an eternal God, which I cannot produce with my hand, but it is a logical deduction based on complexity of our universe and everything in it, and the ideas and the lack of eternal laws working for the universe. Hope this makes sense. But Who created God? Who created the universe? Asking the eternal when it was created, when it was started, when it was beginning, is a fundamental misunderstanding of what infinity means. Infinite has no beginning, no end. A different reality. We're not talking about time. We're not talking about time. This thing lives outside of time. Time is something that we use to calculate the passing of moments. And we'll see if we believe in eternal moments or our moments are sequential. They may seem sequential, but are they? So our two candidates for all existence, a uncaused cause, an originator of all creation, is either God or the universe. Right? Hope you're following me. There's not, well, at least I do not know of a third subject. Now, you might say, well, aliens created this reality. And that's fine. If aliens created that reality, then those aliens, who created those aliens, right? If they're not eternal. But if you're going to point out to me to an eternal alien that created this simulation, then I'll have to point out to you, well, that's God. You just call him an alien, and I'm calling him God. But if they're not eternal, then you still got to answer the question, who caused them? Who caused their beginning? And there has to be an outside answer for this circle of creation, circle of causes, circle of beginnings. Something has to be outside it to be the initial cause. The originator of where all causes begin. Could be the universe. Could be God. So let's talk about the eternal universe. Right? But look at the universe and everything in it. And if it was universal and it caused everything that exists, let alone we're not getting into why I don't think scientifically the stuff of the universe and what it's made up does not speak of eternalness, given the first and second law of thermodynamics. If there's not a mind, a designer creating these worlds, this universe, if there's not an intelligence attached to the universe, then obviously this all happened by mistake. Because only things that are planned out, thought out, designed can be created with a purpose and for a reason. The universe has no intelligence. It exists forever and always has and always will exist. And there's no intelligence attached to its creative process, and we're using creative process even as a word that denotes ideas. It happened to bring out what we have now by accident. Of course, they say we are randomly brought together and there's no purpose and there's no reason why we are. We are what we are because there's no intelligence attached to what has been brought about. So one of the very first attributes for an eternal universe has to be that everything came about by accident, for no good reason, which is opposite when you look at God, right? When you look at God, if you look at the universe as it is, we look at the complexity of the universe, We look at how laws of the universe are discoverable and that we are able to find them, that the universe is like a puzzle waiting for us to find pieces. We already know what pieces are missing and that we expect to find in the future with information or knowledge or through discovery and adventure. We hope to fill the whole periodic table, and we'll hope to map out the whole genome, that everything seems like a good idea, like a book, right? Like a book. The DNA code, the book of the DNA, is so complex, so diverse, and so put together in a way that makes total sense to those who study it, that they can hack into it like a hacker can hack into a program created and designed by a programmer. Those people just looking at the complexity of it's like thinking War and Peace. It's like me getting ink in my hand and 1,000 pages of paper and cutting the hide off a cow, throwing them in the microwave, pulling it out, and coming out with War and Peace. I don't know how scientists do it, because there's nothing random about science. Science exists as a reaction that there are things to be discovered about the universe that are not random, but actually calculated and testable. And there's an expectancy from nature that it can be discovered. It's nuts. I don't get it. They have to believe in theories that allow them to hold their anti-creationist view. And we're not going to get into no 6-day creation. We might, I don't know. Or this idea that you can have a world that's fascinated and it follows laws and it's unique in every single way and complex all the way down to the very cell, to the most biggest thing like a black hole. I believe God created it for us to discover, to ultimately show His greatness. It's funny. People are like, if God created the universe, they expect to find like a sign at the edge of the universe saying still under construction or something. No, God is a God to create a universe. It has to be, once you think you got the limits of that God, He shows you how unlimited He is, how powerful He is. As they look deeper and deeper into the universe with better cameras, we see how much bigger the universe is, how much vaster and complex. You know, they're trying to find the theory of everything. The theory that explains everything we have in this universe, because so far none of their theories are coming out. And their major theory is this. And let me tell you how they explain that the universe is eternal. Is that there are multiple realities. That we're just one of them. We're like in a bubble universe, where each bubble is a universe of its own. And there's infinite amount of them. And they all vary from minute differences to all the way grand. Nothing like our universe. Nothing that we can conceive. And we're nothing special. We're nothing unique. Because when you mix infinity with random and chaotic processes, you will eventually come out with a universe of order. So what they're saying, if you got like 1,000,000 stacks of cards, you got 1,000,000 stacks of cards, and this is not an accurate number. The number is way higher than what I'm giving you the example, but I'm going to give you an example to tell you how far-fetched it is with just a limited amount of the number. You get 1,000,000 stacks of cards, and you take out every joker out of those million cards. And some decks have 2 jokers, some have 1. They take them all out. 2 million jokers, all out of the 1,000,000 decks of playing cards. And you put 1 in the middle. And you shuffle 1,000,000 times. 1,000,000 times. You done with the shuffle? You stand on this super, super high tower and you take the card off, the very first card off the deck of the 1,000,000 decks. It only has 1 joker, and you flip it over and it's a joker on top. That's what they said would happen. See, the probability of that happening is way higher than actually believing that there's a God. When it comes to when you're just dealing with statistics and numbers, it is easier with numbers to believe that God created everything than a random universe creating what we have. But they say we don't know any different because we live in this universe. It was bound to create the universe. It was bound to create the universe that we have. Sooner or later. And we think it's unique because we live in that one universe, just like somebody else would. Now, this is a theory. And there's a string theory, different realities, and it's very close to the same thing. But the fact of the matter is, the universe is not eternal. It's a part of a different universe that is infinite. And we are just one reality in that. And there's no way to prove that. And this is why the Hadron Collider, this is why they're colliding things, and they're looking for this theory to everything that can somehow open a door to prove that theory. Somehow, some way, we can see some kind of proof of extra dimensions and extra realities. But as far as we know, the first law of thermodynamics says that everything's made up of what? Matter. And that matter has a limited amount of energy, and it is burning out of it. The universe that we live in right now, that all we know of, and we know of nothing outside of it, we know that is burning down. We know it had a start. It's called the Big Bang. And we know that eventually it's going to have an end. It's going to eventually fly apart so wide that we're going to lose all power, all the radiation, everything, the light of the universe. It will blow so far apart that it will cease to exist. It's called a big rip. I mean, not totally cease to exist, but it will definitely grow cold and black. And all the energy and radiation of the universe will die down. Like a fire left on a camp. and a rain. Or some believe it's going to bounce back somehow, just like a bungee cord. But instead of it coming back halfway, it goes all the way back, comes back, and re-explodes again. And that's how it's eternal. But we don't see that in nature anywhere. We don't see those supernovas exploding and everything coming back, and we don't see it anywhere. It's just a hypothesis. But it's better than believing in God, at least for them. Because I think some have a thing against God, and other ones just think that once you put God in there, it limits you from discovery anymore. If you put God as the answer, you won't push beyond for more information. And that's silly because science was created by Christians. So it didn't do that for them. They believe that God has put nature there for us to discover for a reason, for our intellect and for His glory. You know? And the idea that we came out by mistake is foolish. And people say, what about aliens? Well, aliens will prove that the universe is eternal. I don't see that. Let me tell you something. The complexity of a human being is much like getting all the parts of a Ford Mustang, putting them all out, every single rivet, all separated. All separated. Nothing attached to another. Everything that goes into a brand new Ford Mustang. Everything. And just putting it out in the parking lot and walking away, and the next day it's all assembled. What are the statistic numbers of that happening? It's highly unlikely. And if you were on some planet and you saw a Ford Mustang drove by, you'd be saying, oh my God, what are the random chances of that happening? Man, universe is strange. But then another one comes by, different color, you'd be all, what are the chances of that happening? 2 of them. Well, see, those numbers double the likeliness that would happen by accident. Then a third one comes by, you would say, wait a minute, somebody's making these around the corner. You would eventually wake up and get a clue that, no, somebody's putting these together and going by. That's exactly how I see the universe. If we find more life on the universe, intelligent life, this still didn't happen by accident. That doesn't prove it happened by accident. It proves that is highly unlikely that that 300 or 400 races happened by mistake. Oh no, it would prove to me that this is a plan by God. So now, it does have an effect on religions like Christianity and Islam and all the other religions. It does affect those things, but it does not affect whether there's a God or not, because those races of new aliens have to be created by God too, and every new race you find makes it highly, the numbers grow higher, the statistic grows higher, that those who happen by mistake will become such an impossible number, it will be ridiculous to even consider. Barely got that thought out. Shit. So, let's say this. The idea, if it was an eternal God and an eternal universe, I think this universe looks like a universe created by an idea by a mind. And that when God said, let there be, and when Genesis says, in the beginning God, and God created the heavens and the earth. God did not create outside of himself, nor a part of himself. I believe that we are part of the mind of God. Just like you can daydream, I believe, and create worlds in your mind. I definitely believe that our existence exists in the mind of God. Because if we were going to take part of what is eternal, we would be eternal. But we're not. And probably in the nature of everything, God can't do everything. He cannot make what has a beginning eternal. So I don't think the universe is divine, nor has a mind, nor does randomness create order. I know a lot of people like to think, and that's something, I need to prove there's a God. Yes, I always concede that I need to prove and I need to tell the reason and explain why I believe there's a God. But they need to prove, the scientists, they need to prove that randomness produces order in our universe. We are all part of God. God's omnipotent. God is infinite. This is why, if God allows us, we will have eternal life. We will live from our creation on. God is transcendent, and we don't understand God fully. We won't ever. And some critics might be right that our idea to put these religions together are based upon our blink understanding that there is a God, and we'll get into why I believe God is active and wants to be a part of his creation's life. God designed the universe. So, I'm trying to think of my last thoughts. What else do I want to say about this? So, if God created the universe, did he create it in 6 days? And did he, well, and let me tell you, I'm just going to explain something. And I vacillate between these two ideas. And I hope you comment about this. The idea that evolution became randomly, and evolution never really answers why there's life out of a rock. It doesn't explain how we get no life to life. I believe if there's any kind of evolution, it is directed evolution, where God evolved the human species to house the human soul, and when it evolved to that point, God breathed a breath of life and put a soul into us. It's like having a very advanced program, super advanced program, but they don't have the hardware ready for it yet, and we need to go through time before they can make it, right? It doesn't have the power requirements. So, once God evolved man, God evolved man, I think I personally, and this is where my Christianity comes in, once God breathed a breath of life into that being, separated him into the garden. Or you can believe in 6-day creation. Why is 6-day creation? If God can make the universe in 1 second with the Big Bang, he surely can make a Earth habitable in 6 days. What is the requirement, right? Well, if you look at the very first car, I think it took about 13 days to make. Once it was all conceived and made. 13 days to make. Right? Now we can make a car that's way more advanced, and we can make it in less than 13 hours. And what are the requirements for us to make that, to do that? Number one, we need the power requirements to do that. We need power and information. That makes that process that took 13 days down to less than 13 hours. That's all you need. And if you would take Henry Ford, and he would look at the Mustang today, or the car today, and tell him, you see this thing? This thing took less than 13 hours to make. He will say it is impossible. It's against nature. It's impossible. But he's not taking into account of how much knowledge we have gained and how much power we are able to harness. Now, we look at the earth and the 6-day creation, which looks like it took millions upon millions of years, maybe billions. And if we could speed up that process, what will we need? Even today, we'll need power and knowledge. And when you have a God that is all knowledgeable and all powerful, 6 days might sound like a long time. We're looking at the universe on what would it take us to create a solar system. And we know now, if you're a futurist, and I'm a futurist, we know now in maybe 2,000 to 3,000 years of human evolution and human ingenuity and science that we might be able to create our own solar systems. And that might take a long time at first. Might take like 50 years to create it. Once we have the power requirements and the knowledge, it might take 50 years. But as our knowledge requirements and our power requirements gain, we'll probably get that down to a shorter time. And someday, if man does not kill each other and we survive all the ills of the universe coming at us, someday we'll be able to create an earth faster than 6 days. If we are on the trajectories that we're on, we'll become one of those societies that control universes, that control galaxies. Not universes, probably galaxies. The outcome of them will definitely be one who can create solar systems, and creating an Earth, we probably can do that within like a day. We'll probably, our terraforming abilities, once we get like a good 100 years past doing them, that process will be sped up too through knowledge and power, and we'll be able to make the Earth or the universe, or a galaxy or a solar system within 6 days. Then the story of creation won't look so stupid. It won't sound so ridiculous, because people are short-sighted with power and knowledge. If you can harness the power to create a galaxy, and you know the knowledge of how to do that through discovery and science, of course we'll be able to do that. And when you look at God, the ultimate knowledge and the ultimate power, like I said, 6 days will sound like freaking too long. You will say, God, you need to get a better contractor, because I can do it in 3. That's all I'm saying. I think I exhausted this subject. Please, if you think I'm stupid, and you disagree with everything I say, please put it in an email at jamessalazarmedia@gmail.com, and I will discuss it on our next Something to Believe in. For sure. For sure. Or if you agree, or if I didn't cover something that you thought was critical, please put that in an email. I would like to read it. I'll read your name. I'll give you the prompts. And also, that idea about, let me just say this before because it's not right. The idea is that when you see more alien races, that is more, those numbers of humans coming by accident, they double with every race you see. Comes from a scientist called David Medved. So I want to give him the props. That's his idea. So, and it spoke to me. That totally makes sense. The statistics, the idea that we came out with random processes are so high and so unbelievable that every new race that comes in to existence that we find out doubles those statistics. Makes it more highly unlikely that we came out by accident. So, my friends, you can follow me on any of my social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest. I'm still on them all. Just drop a line, type in James Salazar Media, and I should come up. Hey, if you like the podcast, please subscribe to the podcast. Please leave me a good review. Save your bad review. Please leave me a good review. Give me a 5 stars so I can start getting some traction. Please, people. And if you like what I'm doing, just, put a little bit out there. Even if you think I'm wrong, but you like the subject, give me 5 stars. Because I'm going to start going through all these subjects. So let's do that. I'm still, if you're following the diet, if you're from the Life Podcast, you're following my diet, I'm still on it. I'm still trucking. I'm definitely going to start my workout today. It's Thursday. And start going where no man has gone before with weight loss. Tracking with my ketogenic and intermittent fasting. And doing a contest, a big Lou. It wasn't a contest. I came out and I proposed it to the Life Podcast fandom, and this guy Lou decides to jump on my coattails and wants to challenge me. This guy's the abundance of original thought. Whatever. I digress. So my friends, when the storms of life come against you, and you find yourself, wait a minute. I also performing in June, Faust. I Am Faust. It'll be performed in Pomona, California. You want to fly out? You want to come out? Everyone's invited. I will be forthcoming with the exact dates, but I Am Faust. This will be a little bit different. We're going to do some little acting and singing. It's an ebb and flow in between them both, because we want those. Because we don't put subtitles on this group of people. Don't put subtitles, so they take the major plot points in the opera and we speak them as an acting. So you're not lost. If you find yourself on your knees, stand up, put your head up high, and say with my Sensei Jack Burton always says, give me your best shot. Strike the music.